All right, we're a couple days away from the NFL draft. Still trying to figure out things. Stephen Jones told you something interesting today. He said between, 14, 15 first-round names on that board?
14 to 16.
14, 16. I have 20 myself. So that's traditionally, that's very low. Usually you'll have a draft. Low for Stephen and them to have 14 to 16. That's a low number because usually you will get somewhere between, you get 18 to 23, 24, something like that, first round grades. And people were asking me because, well, Brian, with the pandemic, more players.
Yeah.
Why aren't the numbers, just
you got a lot of them in the middle rounds.
Yeah, a ton in the middle round.
You don't have the top guys though.
Yeah, and my stuff's going out. Like my board is on. They're starting to put that out on the fan website.
I think it might be that the top players, the blue chip players like Micah or the Oregon offensive lineman,
Sewell. Yeah,
they just sat out.
Yeah,
they still went. They just sat out. Yeah. It was only the middle round guys that needed to go back.
Yeah, but that is an unusually low number, and that's what makes things very difficult for these teams to have to figure out and navigate what's going on in the middle of that board.
All right, dig into this because I have some stuff that I got to ask you about that I've heard before we get to the end of this bad boy. You want me to lead right out with it?
Yeah, go ahead. Because I have a feeling I know where you might be going, but okay. I want to make sure.
Okay, with Treylon Burks, I know a lot of people are excited about him, and he gets the comparisons to Mike Evans and all that. But I heard that he might be like one-dimensional and take time to develop, and like he might actually be a project, Brian. And I don't know how we've gotten so far into this draft process with words coming out like this.
Yeah,
but I feel like. Is this a team that wants to draft him, putting out negative info on him? Have you heard anything like this?
Yeah.
And I also heard he might be kind of a hardhead. Like even young Des Bryant was mentioned to me.
Well, I tell you, it's funny when you compare Des Bryant, you're kind of like thinking, wow, if he's that kind of a player. But
very mature now.
Very mature now. But you're right. And and what you worry about, Gavin, and to your point, and the sources you have, the whispers you have, you're on point here, something, because I'm kind of getting this buzz about the room maybe being a little split on him. That maybe that some people think that there is that. Do you have a young Dez? Do you have that? And I mean that in a way of a guy that's very emotional, very out there on things and stuff like that, very passionate. And I think those are all quality things, but you also kind of worry about that a little bit, though. Do you take that a little too far? And, do
you think it's enough that when Jerry said, I'm a little bit less aggressive, that it could be a determining factor on not taking him?
Yeah. I just, the thing with that though, because there's people in that room, when you start to throw the word Des Bryant around, it puts a smile on their face because they think about what Des Bryant was as a player, but is it the development and all that? Is it going to take time? I mean, they're going to need a plug-and-play type of a receiver, especially early in this season because of what you're dealing with, with Gallup in the knee.
Yeah.
You're going to need a guy, and Burks is – I know for a fact that the guys in Green Bay absolutely love him.
I mean, does one-dimensional seem Dak-friendly to you, though?
Not particularly, does it?
No.
It doesn't. I
mean, it's great if he's going to go out and get open like Dalton Schultz and then turn around and start trucking guys, but I think you need players to have skills to get open down the field to be Dak friendly.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, this kid is one of my favorite players because I think when you start to talk about his size, the things you can do with him, it seems like to me he was in a situation with Arkansas. We talk about with Dak Prescott, even Dak. Those years that they were number one in the nation, everybody's like going, where are the other players? Where are the other? I mean, it really was about Dak Prescott. Burks was that way. Arkansas got to, I think, where they were 9th in the country, winning games and stuff like that, did a heck of a job. But Burks was a lot of that. If you look at how they played in games and stuff, and they went to Georgia and really got destroyed. But Georgia was a national championship team. But Burks was a huge part of why Arkansas was, because it wasn't all about the quarterback there. It was about him and his ability to make plays and stuff like that. So when you start to talk about the potential of a Dez Bryant guy, you got my attention because I'm a Dez Bryant
that's
fan.
Exciting.
That's exciting to me. But if you're also telling me though that you're going to have to worry about him being really, emotional and always having to kind of try and calm down, that might be something you might not want to do.
You don't want to deal with that, and also a project.
Yeah.
At this stage in the game, with these players coming out after so much 7-on-7 and camp work, they can play as rookies now. It's not 1997 at wide receiver.
Right, you're absolutely right.
So if you can't play immediately, that's a red flag.
Yeah.
I'm like, why not? And that's bad value. I need to take that in the second round. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we'll see. But you might not even get the opportunity to. Again, Green Bay
because of the upside with them.
Yeah, I think Green Bay is looking at a receiver there at 22, and Burks is a guy that seems to be on that radar for them. So,
okay.
But yeah, I think that's what you're hearing is confirming, or actually not confirming, is actually very parallel to what I'm hearing that's going on in that room as well. So
yeah. I want Olave or London at that point.
We'll see. Okay, now
we'll see who's available. Though.
That's the thing about it is, and I think that with the thing with Olave is there's a genuine love for Olave in that room. And so if I told you that, well, maybe you get T.Y. Hilton. That I think that Olave is a better Terry Glenn. I think he's got better hands. But you look at the body type, the ability in and out of breaks, the route running ability, the way he gets open, the speed. I mean, there's a lot of guys in that room I know that are fighting for Chris Olave to be a part of this football team.
Well, that'd be cool. Either Terry Glenn or T.Y. Hilton would be awesome at 24.
No, you're absolutely right.
R.I.P. Terry, man.
R.I.P. Terry for sure. Okay, and just kind of one of my final things as we get going here. The tight end situation, keep an eye on what happens with, we did DallasCowboys.com, we did the draft show this morning, and we did a mock draft. And the whole entire, you could go back and listen to it. We went through the whole 7-round mock for the Cowboys and discussed every spot. So later on tonight, when you're getting your walk, your workout, whatever, flip that on and give it a go. But we talked about Otten, the Washington tight end, and we got into a situation where we gave two 4th-round picks, a pick that we got from Kansas City. We traded back to Kansas City, but you can listen to all that. It's really, I think, well done. But we traded back thinking that we were going to get Otten, the tight end from Washington, there in the 3rd. We traded back into the 3rd. So the thing with we were able to do there is we got our player, but what happened was the players that we liked, some of the other tight ends like Woods and Ferguson and guys like that were still available when we picked. So maybe thought to ourselves is don't trade back in for a tight end. Now, if you want a particular one, go get him. But it might be if you're one of those things, you're like, well, the Cowboys got to go grab a tight end. I think what we learned in that mock draft that we did, that patience needs to be what takes care of you for the day. So even though we traded back in, it probably was best that we would have just sat there, been able to pick a guy like Woods or Ferguson, one of those guys there. And one more final thing.
Sure.
George Karlaftis is very much a player that the people have talked about with the Cowboys, potentially at 24 if he's there. There might be some talk about him just being who he is as a player.
Not enough upside?
Not enough upside.
Don't they always say that about white defensive ends?
I think that always tends to happen that way.
That's awful.
Sorry,
but they say that about Hutchinson, so you're not
that's
wrong.
profile.
They said that about the Bosa's. These guys aren't athletic.
I know exactly, but
you can profile the Bosa's, but the rest is that's awful.
But
for different reasons.
Yeah.
Karlaftis is they're talking about him being a really, really good player, but when you get him, are you just going to get? That's what you have. That's what you saw at Purdue.
And he's known for just being power and straight ahead.
He's a technician.
He is a technician.
He's a really good technician.
Okay.
So that's where you're at with him.